Morning, guys. So today we're going to kind of continue with our Sweets Week, and what we're going to do is we're going to do puppy chow. I call it puppy chow. I know that just like everything, lots of people have lots of different names. So I went ahead and I melted some margarine. Can you guys see that? I melted some margarine in the pan, and then I'm going to add in, I'm going to do semi-sweet chocolate chips. That was what I had, so I just decided to go ahead and use it. It's like about 2 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips. And then we're going to add about 1 cup of peanut butter. I did start the margarine melting just to kind of get the pan a little bit warm. I think tomorrow I'm going to do a different candy where I'll show you the double boiler, because when you melt chocolate or anything that has this high of a, fat content, a treat, shall we say, content, it does have a high likelihood to burn easily. So I'm just going to keep an eye on it. I have this on medium. You can see that the chocolate is already starting to melt, which is good. We're going to stir this up, and then we did add peanut butter. Now, I call this puppy chow. I think if you buy it like the Chex already prepared, it's going to call it Muddy Buddies or something like that. You could use either rice Chex or corn Chex. That's kind of up to you. I would say that would be like a personal preference. I like the rubber bowl scraper because it will, if you can kind of see, can you see how as I go I can make sure that I'm scraping the bowl? That way it gets clean. Sometimes people want to use a wooden spoon, which would be okay, but you might see that it doesn't necessarily, it's not scraping your pan. And if you're not scraping your pan, anything that kind of stays on there could burn. So you do have to stir it pretty much constantly, and we want to do that just until it's melted. So a couple different things I've tried. This is one of those recipes that I've had it work out, and then sometimes I have had it totally fail. One year I was making them and I did like 4 batches and I had no idea what I was doing wrong. I think what I was doing is my chocolate was too hot. So as it melts, it will be warm, it will be hot, and you just want to make sure then that when you pour it onto your cereal, which I'm just going to use the rice Chex, and I just got these. I'm going to use my big trusty bowl, which I washed, but we'll just kind of wipe that out. I'm going to use almost all of this. Okay, we're going to set that there. This is like one of those big old Tupperware bowls, if you've kind of seen those, or if you have one laying around, or someone has one. That was my great Aunt Betty's that I keep literally just for this time of year when I'm doing puppy chow or some other big massive amount of sweet, because that's going to make it easier to mix it. Now, once this is all melted, and we'll kind of see that, I don't want to stop stirring because it will, if I stop stirring, it's one of those things, if I stop stirring, it's going to get hotter, so it will melt a little bit faster, but then also it could burn, and we don't want that to happen. Once it's burned, you'll kind of see it'll almost get like chalky. It'll look a little bit chalky. To fix that, I hate when that happens, because sometimes you can fix that by adding like a little bit of milk to it, and then you can get it to remelt. And then honestly, sometimes you just can't. Now, the other time, I think when you add like peanut butter and margarine, honestly, it's going to be smoother. It is going to be easier to melt. But keeping in mind that I'm stirring it constantly. So I have everything right here. I know sometimes at home I get distracted halfway through, or I'm doing something else, or I'm going to check my phone, or I'm going to check the recipe, and then I tend to mess it up. But I have everything kind of ready to go. All right, so we're totally smooth. I'm going to turn that off. Now, remember, with the flat cooktop, that'll stay kind of warm. I'm going to keep kind of pushing it down just to make sure there are no butter chunks and that it melted all the way through. Okay, now I want this to be hot because I need it to stay melted, but I don't want it to necessarily chunk up on me as I pour it into my cereal. So you'll kind of see. Okay, can you see that? I don't want to spill this on myself. I'm going to pour this in. And I think it's easier if you pour, like, some of the videos I've seen, some people will pour it into like the big pot. They'll pour their cereal into the, the big pot of melted chocolate and peanut butter. I think this is easier because it's always going to be easier to pour a liquid, right? So we're going to try and get all that out of there, everything that we can. We're pretty clean. I'm trying not to set this on this cooktop because I don't want it to melt my bowl. Okay, and then I'm just going to kind of stir it up. It does kind of sound like I'm crunching, but I don't think, oh, we lost one. And since we're at school, there's no little puppy that's excited to eat the stuff I spill. Alright, we do want to make sure this is as coated as possible. Now, I mentioned if the chocolate gets too hot, it can actually make your cereal soggy. So I think I said that at the beginning and then I got distracted. Happens to me a lot. That if your chocolate is too hot, because it's a liquid, then it makes your cereal soggy. So that's not really what we want either. Alright, so we just want to make sure this is as coated, and this would be folding. Remember how we talk about folding? See how I'm not like stirring, I'm not trying to be like super aggressive because I don't want to crunch up the cereal. I just want to make sure that it's all coated. Okay, and as I make this video, it's breakfast time. Is this a good breakfast? No, this would be a treat. Okay, definitely not a breakfast food. All right, I'm gonna set this to the side for one quick sec, and then I'm gonna show you, let me use this bowl. Okay, I can set that right there. I brought the sifter. I went ahead and got the sifter. I'm not really sure how often, if you've ever seen me use a sifter. And I, to be fair, I wouldn't do this even if I was at home. This is definitely just kind of showing you what I'm doing. But just to kind of show, if you can kind of, I don't know how well you can see that. But the powdered sugar is definitely clumps, okay? So by just putting it in the sifter, when it comes out, it is much more fine. Now, doesn't mean that it's a bad thing if it's in clumps, it just is clumpy. So if you don't have a sifter at home, you could even take a whisk, which is kind of what we do sometimes. Again, it's just one more step that if you don't want to do it, you probably wouldn't have to. If I'm going to make frosting or something like that, then I would use a sifter, but it's not something you have to use, every time. Okay. Make sure this is looking pretty good. Also just going to feel it. Perfect. Okay. So it's still warm because we want to put the powdered sugar on when it's still warm, but we don't want it to melt, right? Well, we want it to melt maybe just a little bit. All right, I'm just going to have to make a mess, and then I'm going to have to clean it up. Okay, so then, and this is kind of where the guessing game comes in. I'm going to pour all of that on, and I did about 1/4 of a bag so far. When it's all said and done, I'll probably do about half of that bag, so about 1 pound of powdered sugar. Again, total treat. And then we're just going to shake it. This is why I like the big bowl, okay? So I kind of do this a couple times just to see. Now when I open it, I'm going to open it away from me because just like when you're cooking, the steam comes out, there's usually going to be a little bit of a powdered sugar escape. Okay, so we're starting to get mixed up. Now let me show you what happens when I just do this. This ends up just kind of crunching it. So that's why it really is better, as odd as it sounds, it really is better to just keep shaking it, okay? All right, so we're pretty good. If you kind of see that, I'm gonna add some more powdered sugar and then we'll keep going. And I'll take a picture and show you when it's done. This is probably one of, I like sweets, I like peanut butter and I like chocolate. So if you don't like peanut butter and you don't like chocolate, this one wouldn't be for you. But okay, I'm going to keep going and then I'll take a picture. I hope you guys are doing great and staying happy and healthy and safe, and I can't wait to see you today on our Google Meet. Bye, guys.